All right, greetings, good morning. My name is Lilia. I'm the director of New Jersey Working Families. We're an organization that believes in voter activation, agitation, and asking people to vote their values. We are also an organization that has been coordinating the Raise New Jersey table with various partners that are here in the room that include organizations such as New Jersey Citizen Action, NAACP, Blue Wave New Jersey, 15 Now, SCIU, various locals, as well as the State Council, CWA, NJPP, Workers United, Anti-Poverty Network, ATU, and actually a slew more, about 70 organizations that are base building, organizing organizations, pushing for a comprehensive working families economic agenda. Many of us are gathered today to testify in support of the proposal being heard in the Senate Labor Committee today to raise the minimum wage to $15. We are also organized behind this idea that a systemic problem requires a comprehensive solution. It's not just enough for us to raise the minimum wage to $15, although we're very happy that this is happening in New Jersey and that we're going to continue to push to make sure that workers, if necessary, if vetoed by the governor, will vote themselves a raise if need be. But we are also joined together in the idea that we need to work to fight wage theft. We need to fight against unfair labor practices such as unfair and unpredictable scheduling for workers. And we're united. We have a champion in this fight standing with us who has made a commitment to take this to the voters if need be and take it all the way down to the end zone. I don't really play sports, so I have no idea if I did that right. Speaker Vincent Prieto, who joins us today. So without further ado, Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Ana Lilia, and thank you, Working Families, for setting this up. And for me, it's with great pleasure to be here, to be able to be supportive of working families and all the coalitions that have come around to try and make New Jersey a better place and a place with a livable wage. If you put a hard day's work, you should get a pay for that day. It's important, certain things that get lost as we're talking fair scheduling. It's a bill by Sheila Oliver that I think it's very important because you need to know when you're going to be at work, that because you have children, you have so many things for quality of life that you need to make sure that those things are taken care of. So that's something we need to tackle in the state of New Jersey. And wage theft is another one that we do have to tackle. Annette Quijano has a bill that we're going to be working on because wage theft is supposed to be for tip wagers. Minimum wage is the minimum they should get. We want to make sure that they do get what they're supposed to get and they can benefit from everything we do in the state of New Jersey. As all of you know, I put an anti-poverty campaign at the beginning of this session that this all rolls into it to make sure that the residents of the state of New Jersey, when you factor a livable wage, you have about 2.8 billion residents that are living in poverty. And it's so important for us to be able to help them. You have about 800,000 children. And this is all together. It all ties in, whether it's education, we're talking housing, we're talking transportation, all the things that make those components. And then the one key component that I tip my hat to the Senate is doing it today. It's about the minimum wage to get to $15, to get to a livable wage to make sure. We will be amending the bill that I originally dropped on Thursday to make sure they're identical as what we had, that we will start phasing it in from 10-10 and it will be phased to 15. I would love it to be 15 today, but obviously it gives a little bit of chance for everybody to sort of phase it in, and I think that's going to be a key thing that we need to work on. We need to work for the residents of New Jersey. Unfair labor practice is something that should not be happening in the 21st century. We need to make sure that the people that work in the state of New Jersey get a fair deal. So with me, it's with great honor and pleasure just to be a partner and bring some of these things to the table and being able to do the right thing for the residents of New Jersey, the ones that voices are not heard, and those minorities and those communities that have issues. We want to be there for them. I know it. I know what it is to walk in those shoes, so it's with great pleasure to be a partner in this going. And again, thank to each and every one of all the advocates that are here. I'm here to help. How can I help? And I'll always stand by your side. Thank you. God bless.
As the speaker knows, we've actually have been working in coordination with both the office of Sheila Oliver and Annette Quijano to ensure that we have a grassroots support for both their bills. They both regretted not being able to join the speaker today, but both said that they were here in spirit, in fighting spirit. So I would like to, it's interesting. Some of the business associations actually have come out and said that they weren't going to take this lightly, that they were going to organize themselves to fight measures that raise up working families, like raising the minimum wage, like fighting wage theft, or measures such as earned sick days for all workers. Well, the different coalition partners that are organized here today are ready for that fight. We have been talking to voters, we've been knocking on doors, we've been educating our grassroots partners, because we know that in an economy that is dependent on consumers, having regular people have just a little bit more to purchase goods, to secure tutoring for their children, to make sure that their kids get a brand new pair of shoes for the beginning of the school year, actually helps our economy, actually helps drive our economy. And so we are prepared to fight. So I want to introduce some folks who are joining us in that fight and taking that fight to the streets, in no particular order, but who can share a little bit about what they believe we're going to be able to accomplish by such a comprehensive and broad push across the state. So I'll first start with Bruce Davis from the New Jersey chapter of the NAACP.
I bring you greetings on behalf of the NAACP, New Jersey State Conference. It's 41 branches in the 21 counties throughout the state of New Jersey. Some ask if the minimum wage battle is the new civil rights movement. Well, let me answer this question like this. Racial and economic justice are absolutely intertwined. Martin Luther King is a national hero for helping racial segregation in the United States, yet he spent the last years of his life working as much on economic justice as on racial justice. When he was shot and killed in Memphis in 1968, King was in the city on behalf of striking sanitation workers who were trying to organize a union and win higher wages, the exact reason that we're in this room today. The predominantly black workforce had to work 7 days a week with no vacations, carrying 80 pounds of crates of rotting garbage, yet they were paid wages so low that many were forced to supplement their income with public assistance. Now, does this sound like it makes sense? It doesn't to us. As this statement was written for me by our state president, who's not here, we were forced to ask that is 2016 much different from 1968? Unfortunately, it isn't. Much has changed, of course, but much remains the same. King's vision could hardly be more relevant today, and the fight more for racial and social equality stand alongside the fight for fair minimum wage. And in turn, we are carrying the torch he lit in 1968. Instead of seeing racial and economic justice as separate struggles, our fight for the $15 minimum wage will be presented as intertwined. The cross-pollination of these causes that must include wage and anti-wage theft, fair scheduling provides an inspiring example of how acknowledging interconnected, intertwined issues of racial and economic justice empower social movements. We have and will continue to articulate how low-wage work, long-term unemployment, and economic segregation have come hand in hand with racial segregation. Let it be clear that this is not just a class issue. It is a racial issue. It is a gender issue. It is a geography issue. And it's all these things that make us who we are. This cross-fertilization of these campaigns makes a lot of sense. The rhetoric we hear and the unrest we see across our country has shown that the world, that American civil rights have a long way to go. MLK's goal of linking racial and economic justice was never fully realized. But to acknowledge that the problems of jobs and wages go hand in hand with racial discrimination, we are invigorating his legacy and may yet secure a more equitable New Jersey, a more equitable America. I, as the Economic Development Chair, believe that it is in our best interest to increase the minimum wage for those who need the help, not only fix it, but to help New Jersey's working poor begin to work to break the cycle of poverty. 975,000 of New Jersey's residents, and to me, most importantly, 21% of its children are in households below the $15 minimum wage. Much has changed, but too much remains the same. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So our coalition has several union partners that I want to recognize. As I said, the SEIU State Council, as well as locals 32BJ and 1199, CWA District 1, and various locals 1081, 1037, which one am I forgetting? 1033, who support the fight for raising the minimum wage, as well as fighting wage theft and other unfair labor practices. Workers United, which represents several, particularly food service workers in Newark. I just want to call for very, very brief and maybe impromptu, because he may not know that I'm calling him, Ray Greaves from ATU to just share brief remarks on why the labor movement is in support of these type of measures.
Well, thank you, Anna Lilia. I also have Marty Haggerty and Joe Romeo from the ATU here with us this morning. I first want to thank you for your leadership with working families. I also want to thank the Speaker, Mr. Prieto, who it's nice to have a leader here in Trenton who fights for workers, who fights for collective bargaining, and is fighting to lift everybody's boat. We have a Speaker. Mr. Speaker, labor is proud of you. We'll continue to support you and what you're fighting for, so thank you. We're here with the Amalgamated Transit Union. We represent over 250,000 bus operators throughout the country, the United States. Here in New Jersey, we represent all the workers at New Jersey Transit on the bus side. We see it every day. We have passengers who use New Jersey Transit's buses and trains to get to and from work. Many of those workers in the inner city are minimum wage earners. And we see rising rates on transit fares due to the lack of investment in New Jersey Transit, and fares. Hikes have been very common. Most of the workers who are using buses to get to and from work are minimum wage earners. So we see it every day here in New Jersey at our job, and we know there is a need to lift these minimum wage earners up, to bring their wages up to a livable wage of $15 an hour. So we strongly support this. We will be behind it, and we will do everything we can to see that this passes. Unfortunately, we have a governor who sometimes doesn't look at it the way we see it. But we will hold him accountable, and we will hold all of our elected officials accountable to make sure that they all stand up and fight, as our Speaker has been doing, for working families in the state of New Jersey. Thank you.
Okay, joining us on this fight, we also have Patricia Campos Medina from LupePAC, who can say a brief words on the impact of this on Latino workers.
Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Patricia Campos Medina, president of Latinas United for Political Empowerment. We're the largest organization representing the interests of Latina women in the state of New Jersey. That's over 500,000 women. we're here also to stand in support with Speaker Prieto. He's one of our leaders in the Assembly, advancing the interests of all workers and Latino workers. Latina women, 51% of the population of Latinos in the state are Latinas. We carry the burden on working for our families. Generally, you know the numbers. Latina earn 54 cents out of the dollar every time they go to work. So an immediate increase of $15 per hour will definitely improve the lives of our families and their ability to be able to educate their children, be able to have decent life and decent work. Now, this is amazing. 4 years ago, to ask for 15 was considered a dream. And the fact that Latinos, immigrants, Black Lives Matter, and progressive politicians and unions came together and started demanding a living wage is an amazing transformation, and I'm glad to see it, that it finally came to New Jersey, because we are the highest cost state in the Eastern Board, and it's about time that we earn at $15 an hour. So we're here to say that we will be talking to our Latina women across the state, and this is an issue that polls very well with women, any women of any time, but Latina women know that if they can bring a little bit more money to their budget, that they will be able to put their kids in childcare and perhaps spend a little bit more in improving the finances of their household. So we're here to say we're going to fight, and we're going to fight for an immediate increase in the $15 per hour. We're not going to wait another 5 years. We want it done, and we're going to unite in this election to get it done. Thank you.
So speaking of workers, I want to first call Amber Pallone, who is a librarian in Camden County and is able to share a little bit about the struggle that workers have and that she sees amongst her fellow union brothers and sisters.
Thank you. My name is Amber Pallone. I'm a senior library assistant at Camden County Library in Camden County, New Jersey. I'm a trustee for CWA 1014, and which represents the support staff of the Camden County Library System. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the dedicated and hardworking members of our union, which staff 8 library branches throughout Camden County. Our union is the highest rated county service in Camden County, yet we are the lowest paid union in Camden County. And I think it should be noted that our union is 74% female. 65% of our union members currently earn less than $15 an hour. And these are people that work days and evenings, Saturdays and Sundays, and many holidays when the rest of the county is closed. 74% of our union is also part-time, and this number has increased over the years. So not only is the county paying our workers less than $15 an hour, but they are also receiving a benefit from the fact that 74% of our unit is not receiving insurance benefits. Our members are loyal, hardworking, and committed to their jobs. We work daily to serve the taxpayers of Camden County, to serve their educational, their entertainment, their informational needs. Yet many of our members struggle to get by on their low wages. Many of them struggle to meet the most basic needs for their families. Many of my coworkers who are hardworking feel passionate about the work that they do for libraries. They're not working there for the money, clearly, but they are not paid a fair and living wage, and this needs to change. Before coming up here today, I thought about what would a $15 minimum wage mean to the workers of the Camden County Library System. And I talked to a lot of my coworkers, and I got a lot of personal stories. A $15 minimum wage would mean my coworker wouldn't have to choose between paying an electric bill or a gas bill and having to decide which utility is going to be shut off. A $15 minimum wage would mean that my coworker wouldn't have to miss a doctor's appointment either because she couldn't afford the copay, or if she's lucky enough to have insurance, or she couldn't pay the doctor's fee. A $15 minimum wage would mean that my coworker wouldn't have to hope to be offered extra hours at the library or one of her other 2 part-time jobs in order to pay her student loan payments. A $15 minimum wage means that my coworker wouldn't have to work 2 to 3 other part-time jobs just to be able to afford eyeglasses for their child. A $15 minimum wage would mean that maybe, just maybe, my coworker wouldn't have to stand in line at a food bank this month in order to put food on the table for her children. The members of the CWA 1014 Camden County Library support staff are like every other hard-working, underpaid worker here today. They are not expecting a handout. They are loyal employees who are loyal to their employers. They're committed and dedicated to their jobs. Yet they struggle from week to week, month to month, just to get the basic necessities of life. I have seen it. I work with people who struggle with this daily. It is not just a stressful way to live, but it's frightening as well, not knowing what the next day is going to bring. A child's illness or an emergency car repairman can put some of these people over the edge where there's no coming back. Our country is better than this. I know the state of New Jersey and I know Camden County is better than this. $15 minimum wage needs to happen. It is not a luxury. It is not a handout. It's a necessity. And it's a way to ensure that everyone in this state has an equal chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. For the rest of us, I'm going to ask that we keep it really short because we want to go testify. So we want to hear from another worker, Reynaldo Cruz. Reynalda. Yo voy a traducir para usted, pero necesito breve.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Reinalda Cruz.
Good morning. My name is Reynalda Cruz.
Yo vengo de la organización New Labor.
I'm from the organization New Labor.
Nosotros representamos muchos trabajadores realmente inmigrantes,
We represent a lot of mostly immigrant workers.
en la cual estamos luchando junto con New Jersey Working Family para que el salario de 15 realmente sea un hecho, porque es una falta de respeto tener un salario mínimo de 8.38.
And so we are working very hard with New Jersey working families and other allies to make sure that a $15 minimum wage is a reality, because it's actually an insult to workers to pay them just $8.38.
Necesitamos un salario mínimo de $15 para que tengamos una vida digna con nuestras familias realmente, porque necesitamos vivir dignamente y necesitamos respeto.
So we are fighting for a $15 minimum wage, and we need it for our families because we want to be able to live in dignity and live with respect.
Y estoy aquí también para que sigamos empujando para poder pasar el bill sobre el robo de salario, ya que muchos trabajadores hemos ganado por medio del Departamento del Trabajo, pero necesitamos leyes más fuertes y duraderas para que no haya más robos y los trabajadores puedan recuperar el dinero perdido.
And we're also fighting very hard to ensure that anti-wage theft measures are passed, because too many workers have their wages stolen from them, and we need to make sure that there are stricter laws to prevent this from happening from workers.
Y por eso estamos hoy aquí, para que realmente el salario de 15 sea un hecho, sea una realidad, porque ya es hora de que haya un cambio en New Jersey, porque hemos vivido por mucho tiempo sin respeto realmente como trabajador.
And we are here, like we said, fighting for 15 to become a reality, because we are here to make sure that we have respect. For too long in New Jersey, workers have been disrespected, and it's time to change that.
Y que el robo de salario también sea un hecho, que pase, para que podamos tener leyes más fuertes.
And again, we need
Gracias.
strong laws against wage theft. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias. Okay, so I'm going to call two advocates who are going to come together and speak briefly as well, who are actually on the front lines of fighting not only poverty, but making sure that we are educating lawmakers about smarter policy solutions. Phyllis Salke from New Jersey Citizen Action, and Buffy, I can't remember your last name, I'm sorry, from Anti-Poverty Network. Sorry, go ahead.
More than 100,000 low and moderate income workers come through the doors of New Jersey Citizen Action every year in our 5 offices that go from Camden County to Passaic County. We prevent them from being foreclosed on. We sign them up for health care, and we do their taxes for free. Most of those people get the Earned Income Tax Credit, so they are working, and they are working at a minimum wage. So we know firsthand the effect of stagnant wages and income inequality in New Jersey. We totally support the raise of the minimum wage. We also want to prevent wage theft. We see it every day in our offices, and we know you've heard already what people would do with that money and the choices that they have to make. So we support raising the minimum wage.
I'll be very quick. My name's Elizabeth, and I'm here today to represent the Anti-Poverty Network. Far too many New Jerseyans are working hard, working long hours, like we've heard today from the workers who have spoken, and they're still not earning enough to afford food, rent, transportation, childcare, and other basic necessities of life. A full-time worker earning minimum wage in New Jersey earns about $1,400 a month, which is about $100 less than the federal poverty line, which, as we all know, is an inadequate measure of poverty in a high-cost state like New Jersey. This is quite simply unacceptable. How can we expect hardworking people to reach the working class or middle class if policymakers allow them to be paid a wage that traps them into poverty? And that's why I'm here today to show APN support for raising the minimum wage and other essential worker protections. Thank you.
So I'm going to introduce Lizette Delgado from the SEIU State Council.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lizette Delgado Polanco. I'm Executive Director for SEIU New Jersey State Council and part of the Working Families Executive Board. I'm here today actually representing over 40,000 SEIU members that we have in the state of New Jersey. We have 7 locals that represent from across the state. And I'm going to seize my actual speech for an actual worker who is here, Maximo Rodriguez, who's joining us to talk about his struggle on raising the wage in New Jersey.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Maximo Rodriguez. I live here in Trenton. I work as a janitor. I want to share my story because I am among the 1 million people here in New Jersey who earns less than $15 per hour. I work full-time. I don't make enough money to make ends meet. It's even difficult to afford basic necessities like my mortgage. So I worry if I will be able to stay in my home. The financial strain causes me so much stress. A 15 wage won't make me rich, but it will ease my financial burdens. A 15 wage could give me some financial stability. I don't ask for much. I just want to keep my home and be able to put food in the table. I ask our elected official here at the State House to please support the 15 per wage legislation. Please stand up for working people like me, because we're taxpayers with families who contribute to the local economy. Please support a 15 minimum wage, because people who work for a living should be able to make a living. Thank you, everybody.
So last but not least, I want to call a couple economists who could speak not only to the national movement on raising the wage and the national need for fighting wage theft and moving worker-friendly policies, but also the impact we believe it could have in New Jersey. So I'd like to call Paul San from the National Employment Law Project, as well as Marcia Marley from Blue Wave and a New Jersey economist.
Thank you. As you've been hearing, Speaker Prieto and Senate President Sweeney's $15 minimum wage proposal would have a profound impact on New Jersey's working families. Unlike past minimum wage increases that raise pay for 5 or 10% of workers, fully 1 in 4 workers in New Jersey, close to a million people, would get a raise under the proposal. And while it hasn't been precisely estimated, it's likely roughly on the order of $4,000 a year for an average affected worker. for a home health aide or a waitress earning $16,000 or $18,000 a year, that is enough to make a very significant difference in their stress level and family future. The proposal in New Jersey is really part of a national movement, as you no doubt have followed, led by Governor Cuomo in New York, and then Governor Brown in California have approved the nation's first 2 state $15 minimum wages. The District of Columbia under Mayor Bowser is likely to negotiate another $15 wage package very shortly. And now New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, a wave of other high-cost states are following. As for what this means for employers, one key thing to stress is the proposal will be phased in very gradually over 5 years to give employers ample time to adjust. As Goldman Sachs analysts commented last month, the economic literature has typically found no adverse effect on employment from recent U.S. minimum wage increases. And the state-of-the-art research that was commissioned by New York to look at these $15 minimum wages really shows that unlike smaller wage increases, they generate a tremendous amount of new consumer spending with the significant raises in workers' pockets, which largely offsets the higher costs to businesses, allowing the business community to transition to paying the higher wage. I think that's why it's been striking. There has been more business community support for these $15 wages than we have seen ever before in New York. Recently, business groups representing 32,000 small businesses across the state backed the $15 Cuomo proposal, including the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, the African American Chamber of Commerce, and other groups. In fact, polling that was recently released by the Network of National Chambers of Commerce, of which the New Jersey Chamber is a member, shows really a stunning level of support among CEOs and business owners for raising the minimum wage by a lopsided 80% to 8 margin. Business owners surveyed by the National Chamber of Commerce support raising the minimum wage. So this is a really important issue, and we look forward to New Jersey's leadership on it. Thank you very much.
I was going to repeat some of that. I'm not going to. I just want to say, while this is a fairness, equity issue that people have talked about, and it is the right thing to do, it is also good for the economy. And I want to mention a recent article by Joseph Stiglitz, who won a Nobel Prize in economics. And what did he say was the reason that we have a tepid recovery in the U.S., it is that we have insufficient aggregate demand. And his number one reason for insufficient aggregate demand was rising income inequality, which this addresses. And so, as he said, all the studies show, the studies that we have so far show that there hasn't been any negative employment effect. There's a substantial positive consumption effect from these people being taken out of poverty and being able to buy, food, better food for their people, housing, other things, all right? It affects health, it affects their welfare, and it affects the economy. It's a positive effect on the economy. So while we don't have in New Jersey a simulation study, we do have for New York, which was mentioned, which showed no significant negative employment effects, all right, on this. So we're asking the legislator and the governor to pass 15. It's good for the economy, it's good for our families, it's good for women.
We'll open up to any questions to the speaker or members of the coalition. Any questions?
Mike Catalini from the AP. I had a quick question for the speaker or whoever else wants to address it. I thought Mr. Rodriguez's testimony was really interesting. He said $15 would help, it would go toward helping, but it wouldn't sound like he was saying it wouldn't solve all of his problems. So where do you draw the line about how much the wage should be raised, and what do you do? I mean, do you need to do more to help people get out of poverty?
Well, As I said before, it's a complex issue and it's multi-pronged. That's why when we started this for anti-poverty at the beginning of the year, we had different committees where there was human services, women and children, transportation and housing. It's a combination of everything because the state of New Jersey is very expensive to live, but obviously a livable wage, it's important. And once you look at that you can get money into the pocket of these people, that's expendable income that they have that they will put back into the economy and will jolt the economy because they'll get goods, services, and again, put food on the table, clothing on their children, they can buy books, they can do many things. So it's a multi-pronged attack, and that's why we've been doing a lot of different things, like raising the earned income tax credit is another thing to fighting poverty for the working poor. So it's many things that we need to do in the state of New Jersey. It's not just a singular path. It needs to be, like I said, a multiple attack on it.
I would add that our campaign is actually Fight for 15 and a Union. We strongly believe that the decline in unionization and the decline in broad coverage of collective bargaining agreements that allow workers to have an equal or more equitable footing with employers is actually what's driving this increase in economic inequality. And so all of these organizations also fight in ensuring that workers have a voice at the workplace and that we respect collective bargaining. David?
Mr. Speaker, you have this event here advocating for $15 minimum wage, and the Senate President is having a thing later this afternoon to advocate
Let me correct you first. Working Families has
Yes,
this event here
right.
today, not me. I was invited guest, yes.
And so the Senate President's having another thing advocating for the same thing, no?
Yeah, and listen, we're all on the same page, and I said my hat was off to the Senate on getting this done. We actually came up to an agreement of how we move this along to sort of implement it, because, listen, I would love to be able to say we can do 15 today, but obviously it becomes very difficult. That's why my bill is going to be amended to what we sort of came together in talking with all these coalitions and putting it together. So like I said, I really, I am grateful for the Senate President's leadership on this also, to be able to make it, a reality and get it on the governor's desk. One bill, absolutely. They'll be identical. Yeah, my bill will be amended the end of the week to reflect the same as the Senate. Yeah.
Under federal law, certain workers, typically those who are developmentally or intellectually disabled, make less than minimum wage. Would this legislation apply to them? And if not, is there any effort to bring up that their wages to the minimum wage in New Jersey?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you on those workshops that we have throughout the state that are very important, and we actually strive to make sure that we fund them every year. As being the former budget chairman, that's something that I don't know if that's outside of this. I'm being totally honest with you, but that's something that we need to get to these individuals. Also, make sure it's a livable wage, because a lot of times this is what is for them. It gets them to be able to be self-sufficient. So the higher the wage we can get for them, how it's subsidized maybe from the state, we can get to something that's a livable wage, because at the end of the day, they become self-sufficient, and it's great. And if you've had an opportunity to see some of these shelter workshops, it's great work that they do, and I'm a tremendous advocate for them. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You're a gentleman.